When I first started learning English, I found vocabulary to be one of the hardest parts. There were so many new words, and I didn't know where to start. At the same time, I knew that learning vocabulary was very important. Words are the building blocks of any language. Without them, you can't speak, understand, or write. So, I made a plan to learn vocabulary step by step. This is my story about how I learned vocabulary and improved my English. In the beginning, I didn't know many words in English. I only knew very basic words like hello, yes, no, and thank you. But I wanted to learn more. My English teacher told me to start with simple words that I could use every day. She said I should learn words related to my daily life, like words for food, clothes, and things in the house. I made a list of common words. For example, I learned words like apple, bread, shirt, table, and door. Every day, I tried to learn 5 new words. I wrote them down in a small notebook. I practiced saying the words out loud, and I made sure to use them in sentences. I would say things like, I like apples, or the door is open. This helped me remember the words better. I learned that using new words in sentences is a good way to remember them. One of the best tools I used to learn vocabulary was flashcards. I made flashcards with new English words. On one side of the card, I wrote the word in English. On the other side, I wrote the meaning in my language, which is Spanish. I carried the flashcards with me everywhere I went. Whenever I had a few minutes, like on the bus or during lunch, I looked at my flashcards and practiced the words. Flashcards were really helpful because I could see the word and test myself. Sometimes, I even played a game with my friends. They showed me the flashcards, and I had to say the word in English. If I got it right, I felt proud of myself. This made learning fun and less stressful. Another way I learned new words was by listening to English songs and watching movies. I love music, and I noticed that many of my favorite songs were in English. At first, I didn't understand all the words. But I was curious, so I started looking up the lyrics online. I wrote down the new words I didn't know, and I learned their meanings. One of my favorite songs was Let It Be by the Beatles. I listened to the song many times and learned new words like trouble and whisper. When I understood the meaning of the words, I enjoyed the song even more. I also watched movies in English with subtitles. I would listen to the characters and try to guess what the words meant before looking at the subtitles. This way, I learned new vocabulary in context. Movies and songs made learning vocabulary more fun for me. It didn't feel like studying. I was enjoying myself while learning new words. This motivated me to keep going. One day, a friend told me about a mobile app called Duolingo. It's an app for learning languages. I downloaded it, and it became one of my favorite ways to learn English vocabulary. The app gives you exercises to learn new words, and you can practice reading, listening, and speaking. Every day, I used the app for 15 to 20 minutes. It was easy because I could do it on my phone. The app taught me new words and gave me quizzes to test what I learned. It felt like playing a game, but at the same time, I was learning a lot. The app also reminded me to practice every day, so I never forgot. Using apps like Duolingo helped me learn vocabulary quickly and in a fun way. I felt happy when I finished each lesson, and I could see my progress. Reading in English was another way I learned vocabulary. At first, I found it difficult to read full books in English. So, I started with simple books for beginners. My teacher recommended reading children's books because they have easy words and short sentences. The first book I read in English was The Very Hungry Caterpillar. It's a children's book, but it was perfect for me as a beginner. I learned words like apple, cake, butterfly, and hungry. I used a dictionary to check the meanings of words I didn't know. Slowly, I started reading other books with more difficult words. As I read more, I wrote down new words in my notebook. I tried to learn 3 to 5 new words from each book I read. Reading helped me see how words were used in sentences. It also helped me understand grammar better. The more I read, the more vocabulary I learned. I found that reading is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary because you see the words in context, and you can remember them easily. After learning many new words, I needed to practice using them in conversation. One of the best ways to do this was by speaking with native English speakers. I joined a language exchange program where I met people who spoke English. In exchange, I helped them with Spanish. One person I practiced with was named Sarah. She was very kind and patient. She encouraged me to use new words when we talked. Sometimes, I forgot the words or used them incorrectly, but she always helped me. I learned a lot of new vocabulary by talking to her. For example, we talked about hobbies, food, and travel, so I learned words related to those topics. Talking with native speakers helped me gain confidence. It was a little scary at first, but the more I practiced, the easier it became. I learned that it's okay to make mistakes because that's how you improve. Speaking with others is a great way to use new vocabulary and remember it better. Writing was another important part of my vocabulary learning journey. My teacher asked us to write short paragraphs in English. At first, I found it difficult because I didn't know enough words. But over time, I learned to express myself better. I wrote about my daily life, my family, and my favorite hobbies. Each time I wrote, I tried to use new words that I had learned. I also started writing a diary in English. Every evening, I wrote a few sentences about my day. I tried to use the new words I learned from my flashcards, songs, or books. Writing helped me practice using the words in context. It also helped me remember the spelling and meaning of each word. Writing is a great way to reinforce new vocabulary. It allows you to think about how to use the words correctly and put them into practice. Plus, it helped me improve my overall English skills, not just vocabulary. As I learned more words, I noticed that many English words are related to each other. For example, I learned that the word happy has other forms like happiness and happily. This was interesting to me because learning one word helped me understand more words in the same word family. I also learned about synonyms. My teacher explained that synonyms are words that have similar meanings. For example, big and large are synonyms. By learning synonyms, I was able to expand my vocabulary quickly. I didn't just learn one word for each meaning, I learned several words. This made my English sound more natural. Learning vocabulary was not always easy. Sometimes, I felt frustrated because there were so many words to learn, and I couldn't remember them all. Some words were difficult to pronounce, and others had confusing meanings. For example, the word present can mean both a gift and being here. This confused me at first. But I didn't give up. I practiced every day, and I used different methods to learn vocabulary, like flashcards, apps, and talking with people. Slowly, I started to remember more and more words. I learned that it's important to be patient with yourself. You don't have to learn everything at once. Little by little, I made progress. Now, when I look back at how I started, I'm proud of the progress I've made. I started with only a few basic words, and now I know hundreds of words in English. I can have simple conversations, read short stories, and understand English songs and movies. Learning vocabulary was the key to improving my English. My journey is not over yet. I still have many words to learn, but now I know how to do it. I will keep using flashcards, reading books, and talking to native speakers. Every new word I learn brings me closer to fluency, and that makes me feel motivated. Learning vocabulary is an important part of learning any language. It can be difficult at first, but with practice and patience, you can do it. My journey to learning English vocabulary taught me many things. I learned that using different methods, like flashcards, songs, apps, and conversations, makes learning fun and effective. Most importantly, I learned that every new word is a step toward better communication. So, if you are learning vocabulary, don't give up. Keep practicing, and you will see progress, just like I did.